So I think let's get started, because there's always a lot to get through and we all start chatting and it can take a little bit longer. So I'll just let people in as we go. So just make sure you've got everything that you need, um, water, you've got something comfy to sit on, and you have a notepad and a pen. Okay, so in this workshop, I'm going to show you how to overcome overwhelm by identifying your core endo challenges, lead you through my key foundational pillars of healing, and support you to create 1 to 3 goals or baby steps to take away and work on after our time together today. Okay, so if you stay with me until the end of this workshop and you decide that you would like further support and you'd like a bit of guidance on this journey, then I'll give you the opportunity to also receive my Eating for Endo weekly meal plan template, and I'll share the full details at the end if you are interested. Okay, so this time is for you. So if you're alone, turn off your phone or put it in airplane mode. I know it's difficult to do, but if it will help you get the most out of this workshop. And I don't know about you, but even if I put my phone on airplane mode, I'm still tempted. So I hide it under a pillow or something. And then when it's out of sight, I'm less tempted. If you're with others, ideally shut the door and let them know you just need an hour or so to yourself, if that's possible for you. I am aware that some of us have people who need us, or we live in a noisy household with flatmates or family. So, you can always catch up on the recording if your family or your friends call you away. But if you are able to stay present and not be too distracted, that will be amazing. Now, we are going to do a meditation in a couple minutes, so turning off your phone or notifications will be really helpful there as well. Okay, so just to reassure you that this workshop is for you and that you're not alone in your experiences, you're in the right place if you feel overwhelmed by the information about managing endo and you just don't know where to start. There is a lot of contradiction information out there, and maybe you're not sure which things to try first. You're wondering, do I give herbal teas a try, or do I try apple cider vinegar, or do you make more drastic changes like giving up meat? Or maybe you've tried to make multiple changes and you've become exhausted and stressed out by the amount that you needed to do. Maybe it's left you feeling demotivated, uninspired, stuck, and perhaps you actually don't know what's working for you because you've just tried so much. And finally, maybe you have so many symptoms that you just don't know how to tackle them all. It feels like everything makes them worse. And maybe you're just overwhelmed by the sheer force of your symptoms and you don't feel like you can take them all on in one go, but you know you need to start somewhere. So let me know in the comments, do any of these resonate with you? Now, these are just some really common examples. There are others. So if you have endo, you're in the right place. But these are just really common scenarios that I feel like a lot of people resonate with. So in the comments, you can just write 1, 2, or 3. So this would be number 3, this would be number 2, this would be number 1. So we've got a couple of people who have joined us. So I'm just going to read them again for anyone who's just joined. So maybe you're here because you feel overwhelmed by the information about managing endo and you just don't know where to start. So that's number 1. Maybe you've tried to make multiple changes and you've become exhausted and stressed out by the amount you needed to do. That's number 2. And number 3 is you have so many symptoms and you don't know how to tackle them all. It feels like everything makes them worse. So of course, like I said, you might have other scenarios, but these are just some common ones. So it'd be really interesting to see if you resonate with these. Okay, I'm getting a lot of all of them. Combination of 1 to 3. Tej, is that right? 2 and 3, 1 and 2 for Ari. You don't have a diagnosis yet. Well, this is still going to be helpful for if you get endo type symptoms. Devon, all of them. We're getting a lot of all of them, and you're really not alone. I have this, whenever I run this workshop, so many people say it's either a combination of like 2 or it's all 3. Okay, great, Tej. And you have other medical issues to balance out too. Oh, I'm with you there. My endo is not, if you guys follow me, my endo is not my problem anymore now. I have it under control. But my SIBO, yeah, Kendra, SIBO and IC is a different story. Kendra, when we get to, and Cindy has SIBO, when we get to the key pillars of healing, pay attention, because I will explain like how we kind of approach SIBO from the approach of, well, we already have endo. So what do we deal with first? Okay, so just to give you guys a quick intro on me, in case you're new here or you don't know too much about my story with endo, I'm a certified women's health coach specialized in endometriosis. Now, I just want to make it clear that my certification is like labeled as a women's health coach. That's literally on my certificate. But that doesn't mean that I only work with women. I work with anyone who has endometriosis. I spent 4 years in training, and I'm still going. Actually, 5 years. That's old. 5 years of training. I've trained with Dr. Jessica Drummond, Dr. Alison Seebecker, Dr. Narala Jacobi, Nicole Jardim, and I've dedicated the past 8 years of my life to working in the endometriosis field. If that's a thing, calling it endometriosis field, that's what I'm calling it. So I was diagnosed with endo at 24. It took me about 5 years to get that diagnosis. And it was actually a quite bad surgery. So the relief only lasted for about a year and a half, I think it was. So my pain returned around 25, 26, but it took a really long time to get another diagnosis. It actually took 2 years. So I was really desperate in the meantime. And I started looking at what I could do for myself whilst I was waiting. And I went down this rabbit hole, and it took me a really long time to find it, but I started finding out some stuff about nutrition. And so I did 1 month of removing about 4 or 5 inflammatory foods, like common inflammatory allergens. And I had a pain-free period. And this is the first pain-free period that I had in 7 years that wasn't caused by having the surgery. So I had pain-free periods for about a year after the surgery. Prior to that, my periods were excruciating. Like I didn't know how I was going to carry on living with that level of pain happening, every month for a week. So I was absolutely furious. Like, obviously, I was relieved and happy that I had a pain-free period, but I was so angry that this was possible and that I had suffered for 7 years and no one had mentioned this to me. And it was not, back then, it was not easy to find this information on the internet. People were not talking about this. People weren't talking about it on Instagram. And Instagram had only just started as well when I went down this rabbit hole. And so I decided to set up my blog, this Endo Life, to start talking about my experience at first. And then obviously I went through the training. And then I started the podcast, which some of you listened to. And now my endometriosis is completely under control. I took myself through SIBO treatment last year. I cleared the SIBO. I got a negative test, but unfortunately, I rapidly relapsed. So that means that I have a root cause that's causing me to relapse, and I'm going through the investigations of what that is at the moment. And whilst I'm going through those investigations, I'm currently working on my interstitial cystitis. So SIBO and IC are two very, very common co-conditions of endometriosis. Just to give you a quick definition, if you're not sure, SIBO stands for small intestine bacterial overgrowth. It's where normal bacteria that should be in your large intestine grow in your small intestine and cause lots of IBS symptoms, the signature symptom being a bloated belly, right? Does that sound familiar? So I have spent a couple of years now raising awareness that what may look like the endo belly is actually the SIBO belly, or essentially a combination of both. And the research is showing that 80% of people with endometriosis have SIBO. So with interstitial cystitis, that's essentially chronic bladder pain. It can also cause chronic bladder pressure, chronic frequency, maybe feeling like you can't empty your bladder properly. So I've got loads of podcast episodes on both of those if you want to deep dive, but just wanted to raise awareness. So those are what I'm working on at the moment. And I just wanted to share this picture because I find it hilarious. This is like one of the first pictures I ever took for my Instagram, and it's awful, but it's my first attempt at dairy-free and refined sugar-free chocolate. I think it was like a chocolate date caramel bite or something like that. So lots of people saying that these symptoms are familiar. Tej, if you want to learn more about SIBO, I do have lots about it on my podcast because I am also specialized in SIBO. So I want to share with you now why we do this kind of activity of creating a roadmap. So creating a roadmap by prioritizing your biggest challenges of endo, identifying what needs to change, and taking baby steps towards your health goals is not only key to avoiding overwhelm, but it's key to getting your life back and feeling in control again. This is where I start with all of my clients. Often they come to me with a story and a big list of symptoms, and they just feel like they don't know how to start picking apart the web that endo has woven. And this is how we do it. Not all at the same time, not just trying bits here and there and not really knowing what's working, kind of throwing spaghetti at the walls and seeing what sticks. We're not dipping in and out of things, not really giving methods a real length of time to see results, but instead we're going step by step, motivated by a vision of their future self and driven by the changes that they want to solve. Challenges they want to solve, rather, sorry. So we're going to get into things now, but I just wanted to pause for a moment and take a second to think about what would be possible if you were in control of your endo and your symptoms. Let me know one thing that you would do or one way it would change your life for the better if your symptoms were reduced. If you're happy to share in the comments. I'm just going to take a sip of my tea. Sorry, there are a lot of dogs barking around here, so Tej says not worry about constantly being close to a bathroom. Oh, I know that one. Cindy, I would get 10 additional days back every month. Oh, Cindy, I really want you to be able to get those days back. Ari, don't even know where to start, but something like hope. Yes, Ari. Ari or Ari? Ari. Eri. Eri? So have a listen to yesterday's episode with Amina because she really talks about hope. So is that right? Is it airy, like as in air? Why? Yep. Okay, amazing. That's such a pretty name. Claudia, normal life could resume. Absolutely. Tej, freedom. I know that one is so common. It comes up in this workshop a lot. Pain-free urination and bowel movements. Cindy, I'm with you there. Natalia, get rid of the endo belly during PMS. Okay, that might be to do with your progesterone levels as well. So working on your hormones is going to really help there. Kendra, yes, hope. Okay, amazing. All of these are already inspiring me, and I really resonate with a lot of them. I've either been there or, I'm going through it now with the pain-free. I don't really have pain-free urinate. I don't really have painful urination. It's more just my bladder always just is a ball of pain. It's much better. It's getting much better whilst I'm going through this treatment. Okay, so you know what this workshop entails and what to expect. Here's a little rundown. So we're going to start with identifying your why you want to make change and what will be possible for you when you do. And we've already started to kind of discuss that. Then we're going to identify your biggest symptom challenges at endo and prioritize the ones that you want to tackle first. Then, to get you closer to what success would look like for you, we're going to start creating your roadmap. We're going to ask you, what would a positive outcome be for you? And this is going to vary from person to person because we're all different. We're all at different points in this journey. This is going to let you know what your destination is. The fourth step is my favorite part. We're going to look at my foundational pillars of healing that I use in my coaching practice and that have amazing positive results and symptom reduction time and time again. Then, after understanding the key pillars of healing and having had identified your main priorities and knowing why you want to make change, we're going to create 1 to 3 goals to work towards. And if you found this workshop helpful and you would like further support and guidance, I'll tell you how you can work with me at the end. And then lastly, jot down any questions that you might have in your journal, save them for the end, and then post them at the end, and I'll answer as many as I can. Okay, so now we're going to settle in and do a future you meditation. Now, this meditation is not just a meditation to kind of calm us down, but it's actually a meditation to help you see what you want for your healing and the future of your health with Endo. So do what you need to do to get comfy. Maybe put a cushion under your sit bones. Sometimes it can help to put a cushion under your bum, but have your knees, cross your knees and have them on the floor. It creates a sort of tilting position that can be helpful for your pelvis. So I'm just going to ask everyone to sit comfortably. And when you're ready, close your eyes if you're comfortable with closing your eyes. And we're going to take 3 deep, slow breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And we're going to be breathing in for 4 and out for 8. So in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I invite you to see yourself on a path. Know that you're entirely safe wherever you are. The path ahead is bright, it's sunny, it's welcoming. Now look behind you. Perhaps you might see some valleys, some hills, some stormy areas. Know that that's your past with Endo, but you're no longer going in that direction. The path ahead leads you to a house. Again, know that you are absolutely safe here. You knock, and it's you who opens the door. Your future you at the end of 2022. They invite you in. What's their energy like? How do they look? How do they feel in their body? And how do they make you feel to be around? You sit down together over a cup of something warm and comforting, and they share with you their journey of healing in the past year. They explain what they did or didn't do for the health that you see them in today. They explained what worked for them or what didn't work for them. Now, I'm just going to leave you for a few moments to have this conversation with your future you. you take some time to ask them any questions that you might have about this journey. And again, I'll leave you for a few moments to do that. Finally, they share with you some wisdom for your healing journey ahead. They hug you and tell you that they will be guiding you on your path. Okay, let's take one deep breath. Feel the ground beneath you, your seat beneath you. Wiggle your toes, your fingers. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, so if anyone is open to sharing, what was your future you like? What wisdom did they share with you about your healing journey with Endo? What parts of this future self would you like to make a reality? I'd love to hear how you found this meditation and what you saw. Okay, so Anu, she was happy and hopeful, wanted to make sure I trust myself and my inner knowledge. Wow, that's really powerful. I feel like often with endo, there becomes a lot of distrust with our body and doubt about what the next right move is. So I think it's really powerful that she reminded you to trust yourself and your inner knowledge, because you know deep down what feels like the right choice for you, or what you instinctively need. Like, you might instinctively deep down know that you need to sleep a bit more, or you need less stress. So it can be really helpful to pay attention to that. Thank you for sharing, Anu. Claudia, future me was relaxed, comfortable, but had a natural energy. Oh, I love that. Wisdom was to keep going. You're closer than you think. Okay, Claudia, that has given me tingles, because the last time I ran this workshop, someone else had that message. So that's amazing. Cindy, oh, I cried the entire time because my future self looked happy, vibrant, and full of energy, lean and bloat free. She told me to be patient and to continue on the path that I am, because it will lead to a successful future. Oh, Cindy, my heart is just in it for you. I really believe in that future. Devon, more confident, grounded, and that these challenges are an opportunity to get to know myself better and become stronger and more empowered. Devon, I love that. I feel like that's what happened to me. Like I used what I went through. I mean, definitely not saying everyone go and start a blog, because it's really hard, but I used this as an opportunity to be more empowered and be stronger. And so it's lovely to see that you want to do the same. Airy, you cried the whole time too. Realised I've been so scared of my body lately, and my future self wasn't, so it was really refreshing. That's amazing. And I hope that was, really insightful to like experience not being scared of your body and what that can feel like, and know that it's possible. Okay, so keep these visions in mind as we go into the next step, because they're going to be helpful. And thank you everyone for sharing. Okay, so let's start with knowing your why. And more peaceful and not frustrated. And yes, tears over the past I'm still trying to let go of. And I think primary pillar 3 could be helpful for you. Keep your eye out for that one. Okay, so we've already gone through a visualization just now, and depending on what you saw and whether it felt true to your core desires, that may help you to identify your why. Now, the reason why that we identify your why is because not only does it give you something to look forward to, like why are you doing this, but it gives you something to motivate you when you're struggling or you're getting frustrated with your journey. So here are some examples of my clients. So one wanted to be able to have the energy to play with her children. She felt like she was snapping all the time and she couldn't really participate in their lives. One wanted to be able to get to work without being late and able to shower in the morning. So she was so exhausted and she had so many kind of endo belly problems that she would just roll out of bed 15 minutes before she had to be at work. So she would literally just run out of bed, just put some clothes on and run. One wanted to be able to travel for business without fear. So she is a fashion photographer. She has to travel a lot. And so she really wanted to be able to travel without having all of these symptoms causing her to have to cancel shoots or miss planes. Another wanted to be able to sit up and walk and finish her studies. So this client I will take you through in a little while. But when we met, she was horizontal all the time. She literally couldn't sit up from the pain and the extensive bloating that she had. So that was her why. Now, if things get tough with your healing journey, hang on to your why. Your why is often something you really value. And because you value it, like your career or your relationships or your dreams, etc., you're more likely to overcome your obstacles because it's worth it to you. You're not just running away from your endo symptoms, you're running towards something. You're running towards that future vision of your health and your life. So if you're stuck, you might have something pop up into your head already, but if you're stuck, think about the areas of your life that endo is affecting. So some examples from past clients are that, they were constantly anxious and worried about their endo. Endo caused them to have to take a lot of time off work regularly. Endo stopped them from seeing or celebrating with their loved ones, or endo was really affecting their relationship. So these are some of the areas that endo was affecting. And knowing how endo is affecting your life may help you determine what your why is, because you want the opposite, right? You don't want endo to affect your relationship. You want a happier relationship. So what's your why? If you're comfortable with sharing in the comments, firstly, jot it down in your notebook. So jot it down so you've actually you're starting to build this roadmap. And then if you're comfortable, share in the comments and we'll just go over a couple of them. By the way, my dehumidifier is going in the background, so let me know if it's too noisy and distracting. It sort of squeaks sometimes. Sophie, to have pain-free periods without having to plan my whole life around them. Absolutely, Sophie. And I mean, it's such a significant chunk of time, right? Like a week, sometimes longer for some people. So it's going to free up your life so much to be able to have that time back. And be able to get pregnant and have energy again. Oh, and I'm sending you like the best of luck, and all of my positive vibes for that. Claudia, to have the option to be employed, self-employed due to health, and to have days out and be with friends and family and to travel, etc. Oh, amazing. Traveling was a really big one for me, so I really resonate with you on that. Kendra, to be able to let go of constant overwhelm and fear of my own body. The pain feels terrifying at this point, especially around my cycle. Kendra, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I really hope that this workshop helps you and that it gives you some pointers for your next steps. Devon, be able to travel more freely. Anu, I burned out a couple of years ago, and since then I've had panic attacks and anxiety every time I get a new symptom or experience pain. This affects everyday life and have 2 small children. Wow, I can imagine how that's affecting you. For the key pillar 3, I think could be really helpful. Bissy, anxiety is pretty bad too. All these are going so fast. I'm sorry, I'm probably not going to be able to grab all of these because they're moving up quite quickly. Bissy wants my energy and pain-free self back. I'm running out of sick days. Cindy, I agree with Sophie. I want to be able to return to work, eat without worrying, start a relationship, have more energy. I want to be overcome the fear of my health issues and not let it consume 95% of my life. Natalia, to keep my energy levels up during the month without interfering my productivity. Tej, I want to understand my body again and be able to get back my energy instead of constantly feeling in fear of it. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. There's a lot of fear here. So I hope that going through this gives you some confidence. It won't necessarily erase all of your fear in one session, but hopefully it gives you some confidence. So thank you for sharing, everyone. Okay, so number 2, what are your core challenges with endo? So now we're getting to the meat of it, your biggest challenges with endo. So it's easy to get overwhelmed when we're trying to fix everything at once. Often there are multiple symptoms and multiple challenges with endo. Sometimes the biggest challenge isn't that isn't your symptoms, but actually maybe it's a hurdle to making change, or something like the impact it's had on your relationship. Trying to take on all of your symptoms, fix your relationship, and overcome your resistance to, I don't know, going to sleep earlier, all in one go, is a lot for anyone. And, let's be clear, this is a hard disease to live with. We're not just trying to heal ourselves, but we're trying to heal ourselves whilst also trying to lead a normal life and experiencing symptoms that can make all of that so much harder. It takes us work when our symptoms are out of control. It takes us work just to get to a normal level. So give yourself grace on this journey. Give yourself patience. If we try and fix it all at once, we run the risk of becoming paralyzed by overwhelm and not making any changes at all, or becoming so exhausted by it all or so confused that we give up. There's also the risk that you won't actually know what's working for you because you've tried so many things at once, and so you're now scared to drop one of the balls in case that's the one that's working. So what we do is we look at your number one symptom. So what is your number one symptom with endo that would make all the difference if it went away? Now, I know we deal with a lot of symptoms, but what's the one that affects your life the most? Which one would make the biggest difference if we could just take it away? Which one would make the others more bearable if it went away? Now, you don't need to write in the comments yet. I'm going to give you a couple of examples and a few more things to think about. So for you, it might be bloating, it might be constant pelvic pain, it might be excruciating periods, it could be 2 to 3 weeks of the month when you don't feel well. These are some real life examples of clients. I know for me, it's my number one symptom is the bladder pain. And that's why instead of when I relapsed with SIBO, instead of being like, right, I'm going back into SIBO treatment straight away, I was like, actually, the bladder pain is making it so much harder to deal with my SIBO. I'd rather treat the bladder pain as much as I can first whilst I'm doing these investigations to why I relapsed. So that's kind of the angle that we're looking at. So take a few moments to think about it, and then if you're comfortable, note it in your journal and then share in the comments. And in your journal, put a big star next to it or a circle, because this is going to be at the heart of your roadmap. So just to give you a couple of moments to do that, and if you're comfortable with sharing in the group, then you can. Kendra, so hard to focus on just one. Don't worry, Kendra. In a moment, we're going to have some secondary symptoms. Excruciating periods, I think, is the most terrifying point at this point. Okay, so that's your biggest one, but it doesn't mean we're leaving out the others. We're going to get to those. Devon, just one is hard. I think it must be my insanely bad menstrual cramps. Yep, you're not alone there. Anu, you have several endometriomas. Yep, they are cysts, they're chocolate cysts. And one is right where the C-section scar is. Oh, okay, that must be painful. Some abdominal massage, like our Vigo massage, clear passage, or visceral manipulation might help you there. Busy, excruciating pain, period pain, airy, same. Okay, so erratic, incredibly heavy bleeding that lasts for weeks and comes and goes with no warning. That's Tej. Okay, Tej, have you been checked for fibroids or polyps? Okay, so I just wanted to share an inspiring quote here. As we're talking about our symptoms, obviously that can be quite triggering, but I wanted to um, give you guys some inspiration. So this is from the lovely Matilda. So her core challenge, her number one challenge, was that she couldn't sit up from the pain and bloating. So this is the girl that I mentioned earlier. She couldn't sit up for more than 10 minutes. She couldn't work. She had been studying, but she couldn't study anymore because she couldn't attend class. Um, and so when we met, she was horizontal. Like literally she was lying down all the time, like 95% of the time. Um, and we worked towards her being able to sit for 20 minutes with cushions, then to do some gentle yoga for 10 minutes. And eventually we got her to the point where she could walk around her neighborhood. And she emailed me to say that basically her course moved online because of COVID. This is like at the start of COVID. And she was able to attend a, what do they call it? A residential. And she emailed me to say that she made it through a whole weekend of tutorials without having to lie down or skip any lectures, and that she can even sit up on her own without cushions for a couple of hours, which was just huge because she had so much pain and so much severe bloating that she just literally couldn't get up, and her stomach muscles had, basically her stomach and back muscles had completely wasted away. So, okay, adenomyosis can, yeah, definitely contribute to the bleeding, but hopefully some of the hormonal balances that we do will help you to change that. Okay, so especially the blood sugar balancing and the inflammation piece. Okay, now this is where we're going to talk about secondary symptoms. So most of us with endo obviously don't just have one symptom but multiple, and can be frustrating to isolate one. So firstly, I want to let you know that many of your symptoms will improve as you focus on the root causes of your main symptom, because they're all connected. But it can be helpful to have one or two other symptoms that you would like to prioritize. So something you might notice is that you may address the first core problem and find that when you reach the next two, they're much more manageable to take on because they've actually reduced over time, or you're no longer so stressed out by your main symptom that you now have the headspace to focus on these other ones. Or you may actually be able to address two or more at one time because, like I said, and actually like you'll see as we go through the pillars of healing, you'll see that a lot of these strategies tackle a couple of symptoms at once. So what are one or two other symptoms that are the most difficult for you to live with? So note them down in your journal, and then if you're comfortable, share in the comments. Kendra, I see the bladder pain and constant urgency gives me so much anxiety to leave the house. I really resonate with that, Kendra. Kendra, I am just a side note. You can hear them because I've just picked them up. I'm taking Desert Harvest aloe vera. It is studied for bladder pain. In 2 years, now I'm a health coach and I've tried a lot of stuff. My bladder issues are very, very complex, but this is the main thing that has helped me so far. So just a little side note. They're called Desert Harvest Super Strength Freeze Dried Aloe Vera. Okay, Bissy, heavy bleeding. Like I can't get up so bad. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Bissy. Anu, pelvic pain and bloating. Airy, seemingly random pain while exercising, even yoga. Okay, that might be structural. It might be to do with pelvic floor or adhesions. So we will talk about that shortly. Tej, pelvic pain and controlling my candida / blood sugar. Right, so controlling the blood sugar should help with the candida, although obviously you might need to go through some candida treatment for that. And fatigue. Oh, great. I hope they help, Kendra. Follow the protocol the protocol for some reason isn't on the back of the label. Really annoying, but it is on their website. So read up on the aloe vera supplements on there, and then it tells you the protocol to follow. Natalia, bloating, endo belly, lots of cravings and difficulty to control my blood sugar levels and insulin. Oh, okay. That's a, I know, I've been there. But there's lots that we can do to get your levels under control. Tiffany, eczema, dermatitis. Okay, that's often linked to gut health. Claudia, nausea. Devon, skin issues, bloating, extreme fatigue, and blood sugar from Cindy. So there's a lot of similar overlaps. Um, and it's horrible that you're all suffering like this. But I also hope that you feel less alone, seeing that other people are there with you. Okay, so keep these symptoms in mind. And as we go through the key pillars of healing, think about which ones are going to help you the most with your journey. All of them are going to help, but what ones do you feel most pulled to with your symptoms? Okay, now we're going to look at what success would look like for you at the end of 2022. So this next step takes us closer to creating our goals. So we know what our motivation is, that's our why. We know what our key challenges are, we've just gone through that. Now we're going to ask, what would be a positive outcome for you with these symptoms or challenges at the end of the year? Or maybe, maybe it feels better because this is a conversation about overwhelm, right? So if it's less overwhelming, maybe it feels better to say, what would a positive outcome be for you at the end of 3 months? If you could see improvement that felt doable and achievable to you in your selected time frame, what would that be? Now, of course, we'd all love to wave a magic wand and just not have symptoms by tomorrow, but healing can take time and it can sometimes be complex depending on what you have going on. So here are some examples of what previous clients have said. So one wanted to be able to wear fitted clothes again because she had such bad endo belly. One wanted to be able to see friends at the weekend without suffering the consequences. So she would, she tried to see her friends. She'd literally have to take time off work the next week because she'd be ill. Another wanted to be able to have a low pain or pain-free period. Now, these are outcomes that these clients wanted to see at the end of our 3 months coaching together. So I always see a one-on-one client for at least 3 months minimum, and then they can always extend. This is just a minimum amount of time. Now, I do want to remind you that healing isn't linear. This isn't about a vision of success that you have to achieve or you're a failure. When it comes to endo, you may sometimes need to tweak the time frames. We can't always control how long healing takes, but there is a lot we can control, like consistent progress in the right direction. If the road ahead gets complicated because it takes longer to treat a condition than you thought, that is okay, guys. You haven't failed. It's just nature. There's a lot of healing to do, especially in something like a case of a lot of adhesions or SIBO, for example. Nature can't be put in a box and we can't always predict. We can do what's in our control, but if we don't get to where, we're so focused on racing ahead with goals. Sorry, my neighbour's fire alarm is going off. I hope you can't hear that. Sometimes we get very disappointed if we don't hit a goal in a certain time frame and we give up. But we're not looking at, this isn't about trying to achieve like New Year's resolutions or financial goals. This is about you just having a vision of yourself and working at a pace, steady pace until you reach it, regardless of how long it takes or how quick it takes. So an example of this would be my client, Susie. So she's the one who came to me with the endo belly was so bad that she couldn't really fit into any clothes. So she wanted to be able to wear fitted clothes again. And she had all of the signs of SIBO. So we tested for SIBO and she did have SIBO. We treated the SIBO and we got rid of it. And she could wear fitted clothes again, but not all the time. And she still had some other symptoms. So we did some more digging and she had candida, which she's now cleared, but then she still had some odd symptoms. And we did more digging and realized that she has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which affects the intestinal motility. It affects the movement in the gut. And there's not a massive amount of research, but there is a connection between EDS and endometriosis. But now she's working with a specialist to control her EDS, and she's working on getting pregnant. So you can see that this, what started as getting on top of her SIBO evolved as her journey went along. And my example, I first started out many years ago wanting to work mainly on my period pain, and I sorted that. There were so many symptoms around PMS, horrific PMS, PMDD symptoms. I never sought a diagnosis, and I haven't needed to now. And estrogen dominant symptoms, that's done. Now my journey has evolved to be working on the SIBO and the IC. Hopefully you guys won't have SIBO or IC to work towards, but I just wanted to kind of demonstrate how healing isn't always straightforward or linear, but it doesn't mean that we can't make progress in the right direction, as you can see. So take a few minutes to jot down your answers to what success would look like for you in 2022. What would a positive outcome be for you? Now, that can be a positive outcome in 3 months or at the end of the year. It's up to you. And then if you're happy to share in the comments, please do. Oh, I'm getting a sore throat already. I always get sore throats with these workshops because it's just me talking. I'm not talking to any clients, so it's just, yeah, lots of talking and my throat gets sore very quickly. Devon, less painful periods, clearer skin, less bloating, and overall better relationship with food. Wonderful. Kendra, 3 months pain-free period. Yes. End of year, get to the bottom of my relapse and SIBO. I've been treating since 2018. Wow. Okay. Kendra, have you listened to my episode with Dr. Alison Seebecker? And ideally pregnancy, but also less pain with my period. And sex. Okay, yeah. So you get pain with your period and sex, less bloating, and feeling more comfortable in my own skin and clothes. Oh, that's so important to feel like feel like at peace with your body. Amazing, Kendra. Okay. Now, Kendra, 2/3 of people with SIBO are chronic, but that doesn't mean you can't feel well with it. So it might be about, well, how do we get you to a place where you're not suffering with symptoms, even if you are chronic. Cindy, I am far along my journey. Yes, you were mentioning hoping that the expert excision surgery that will remove the inflammation and allow me to heal the GI issues to eliminate the bloating and the painful digestion. Cindy, I don't know if you've listened, but I've got a couple of episodes on how to work on your digestion after surgery, because surgery can actually basically negatively impact the endobelly and make it worse. So have a listen to those episodes before your surgery, so you might want to kind of put in some of those protocols in place. Tej, get off this horrendous emotional roller coaster and feeling healthy and having energy, not feeling alone. Absolutely. I mean, that emotional roller coaster, I feel like for a lot of us is the hardest part. Like it's the feelings that come with the symptoms, right? How they make us feel, like despair and hopelessness. Anu, cysts gone or smaller. I would be able to get rid of the marina, reduced overall pain. Okay, wonderful. These are all so inspiring, and I hope that reading everyone else's, that it's going to inspire you, inspire you and motivate you. Airy, yes, I'm going to be going through the step around structural issues shortly. And then if you have any follow-up questions, ask them in the Q&A at the end. Otherwise, I'll be stopping and starting if I start answering questions. Claudia, improved gut health to feel more well and eat more normally, and I'll be able to come off the pill. Amazing. Gut health can make such a difference to every. Gut health can make a difference to hormones, to pain, to inflammation. It's just so mental health. It's so far-reaching. Okay, so this is the exciting bit that I know lots of you are waiting for. So these are my key pillars of healing that are based on a functional medicine and an integrative holistic approach based on my training with Dr. Jessica Drummond, Dr. Alison Seebecker, Nicole Jardim, and my personal experience with clients, and obviously my time healing myself. And the reason why I want to take you through these is so that you have an idea of what to prioritize first and where to begin, basically, so you can put your roadmap together. Now, before I take you through the core foundational pillars, I want to explain why I created these pillars and this webinar specifically. So originally, and some of you who attended my previous webinar know this, I'm not sure if a couple of you might have attended my previous webinar, let me know if you had. But previously, I had primary pillars of healing and secondary. And these included some of what you're going to learn today, plus other areas of healing, like the detoxification systems and more advanced gut healing, just more advanced strategies on different areas. Now, that protocol remains my original protocol, and I see great success with it, amazing success with it, and it is my preferred protocol, providing someone feels ready for it. If they don't feel ready for it, then it's not going to work effectively because it's going to cause them stress. So what I've noticed over the years is that whilst people feel very clear on this protocol after this workshop, and they feel clear on their path, and as a result they're less overwhelmed, some begin to get overwhelmed again when working on certain areas of the protocol, like gut health or like the detoxification systems or cycle syncing. And these areas would cause them to get stuck or to halt in their symptom progress because they were getting stressed out. So I started to observe what areas of healing made the biggest difference with the least amount of overwhelm. So, okay, what these students or these clients, what changes do they see a big difference from that they didn't find too hard to kind of do? And I also started to notice the type of symptoms which were affecting people the most and making their journey harder to get through. And these symptoms will often be severe or continuous pain, chronic fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, and gut issues to a degree, but I'll explain that a little bit more soon because that differs slightly. And these symptoms would often cause people to struggle with making change because they felt so unwell or so tired that they just couldn't think straight. And I also noticed that if someone was already feeling overwhelmed at the start of their journey, or they were very sick, or they were newly diagnosed, that the more complex or advanced areas of healing, like gut health or liver support, would often be the area that would kind of tip them back into overwhelm or kind of stop them from starting in the first place. So as you'll come to see, that doesn't mean that we can't heal these areas, that we can't look after our liver, that we can't look after our gut health. We certainly can, but it's the complexities and the nuances and the deep dives that we're not getting into here in these foundational pillars. So with this core foundational protocol, I'm providing a step-by-step roadmap that will tackle some of these major symptoms that make people feel so unwell that they can't progress with their healing. And I'm using the areas that people tend to take on the most easily that also achieve big results and symptom reduction and are the least overwhelming. So that's what we're doing today. And then once those are in place and you feel ready, you can move on to the more advanced strategies. So number one is lowering inflammation with good anti-inflammatory nutrition. Endo is an inflammatory disease that doesn't just create chronic inflammation in the pelvis, but in the entire body, and inflammatory chemicals actually help it to grow. Endo creates local inflammation itself, so in the pelvic area, directly from the endo lesions, but it also triggers a constant inflammatory reaction from the body as the body tries to attack the endo, but to no avail because endometriosis cells are often resistant to our immune system. And additionally, the immune system isn't working very well in people with endo. So we just have this kind of constant cycle of inflammation. Now, there are other contributing factors to inflammation, but food is foundational, and we can actually see some of the biggest and easiest changes here. It's not just about taking foods away either. And in fact, at this stage, it's much more like in these foundational pillars, it's much more about adding in nutrient dense, antioxidant rich, and delicious foods that not just lower inflammation, but feeds your body with what it needs to thrive with endo. Now, we can make changes, we can take supplements, we can do the yoga, but if we're eating an inflammatory diet or we're not getting in enough nutrients, we're not going to be making as much progress as we could, and we might get frustrated and give up. Having said that, you don't need to make huge changes to see a difference. And I actually don't recommend changing your diet completely in the space of a week. Like just being like, right, I'm anti-inflammatory from this week and that's it. That's stressful and it's difficult to keep up. Instead, when I work with clients and course students, I recommend small, gradual changes that improves your nutrient intake and inflammation across the space of a couple of weeks or months, depending on your pace and this current state of your diet. And if considering making tweaks to your diet feels too much right now or is triggering for you, don't worry, I will offer you some alternatives at the end. Now, tackling nutrition is really going to improve pain, fatigue, energy levels, moods, gut health, and sleep. Pretty much all symptoms of endo can be improved with healthy nutrition. That doesn't mean it can solve all your endo symptoms alone, but it can really set you up with a solid foundation to build upon. Sorry guys, I wanted to check it was recording because the light wasn't flashing anymore. Okay, so number 2 is blood sugar. Now this is a really big one, guys, and I know some of you have already mentioned blood sugar. I see unstable blood sugar levels in almost all of my clients, and it's one of the root causes behind brain fog, fatigue, inflammation, pain, and hormonal problems like estrogen dominance. Now, a couple of you have mentioned estrogen dominance too. Fixing blood sugar is relatively easy unless there's something disrupting it, and it is paramount to long-term health for literally everyone, endo or not. They're now finding that blood sugar dysregulation is like a leading cause of chronic preventable illnesses like Alzheimer's, diabetes, like so many diseases. So this is the next step, and often big changes are seen here. And I actually see blood sugar as probably one of the top healing areas that creates the biggest improvements. When my clients start working on this, they come back to me like raving about the difference. The great thing about blood sugar is that you can begin with really simple changes. And then later on down the line, when you're feeling physically better and mentally you're feeling less overwhelmed, you can make some more advanced changes. But honestly, my clients feel better with just the simple changes. Now, even though we're not working directly on the gut at this stage, balanced blood sugar is very important to a happy gut because high blood sugar creates an inflammatory environment. And an inflammatory environment damages the gut and causes unhealthy bacterial overgrowth. And in fact, world-leading gut health doctor, Dr. Ruscio, he says that eating to lower inflammation and to balance blood sugar is more important than eating to feed gut bacteria. So as you can see, eating for balanced blood sugar and eating more anti-inflammatory foods are foundational steps for pretty much all endo symptoms. Okay, so I just need a sip of water. So next up is calming down the nervous system and alleviating any structural issues so that pain signals can lower. So stressors, whether they're physical or emotional, tell the brain that we're unsafe, and its response is to make more pain, so we know that we're at threat. This can create a vicious cycle because the more we stress about our pain, the more unsafe our brain feels and the more pain it makes. But this concept doesn't just stop at pain. Allergies, food sensitivities, gut health, etc., they can all worsen in response to the nervous system feeling threatened. And as we get more stressed about these new or worsening symptoms, more and more crop up because the brain and body start to see everything as a threat. So, whilst yes, we do want to improve your nutrition with anti inflammatory foods and good blood sugar, we also want to improve your body's resilience. We know from the research that a large proportion of people with endo have sensitivities and allergies, and we want to widen the amount of healthy foods that you can eat without them causing an endo belly flare or abdominal cramps or diarrhea, etc., so that you're not restricted and limited. We also want to lower your immune reactions so that you're not having an inflammatory flare from the tiniest amount of dust or pollen or mold that our body should normally be able to withstand. So this is a part of the healing where we start to teach the brain and the nervous system how to become more resilient, more flexible, more adaptable, and to move out of the flight or fight response. Many of these practices are simple at home methods, but there are also more advanced strategies that you can try later on down the line. But in the beginning, there's some wonderful at home methods that you can try. Now, the nervous system can also become aggravated by nerve sensitivity in the pelvic area because of a tight pelvic floor or adhesions. So, we want to look at what's going on structurally. If there's a tight pelvic floor, which is the case for 70% of endo patients, then we need to correct that because it's not only going to cause pain in the pelvis, but it can cause pain in the back, pain in the neck, pain in the jaw, and it can cause bladder problems, bowel problems, and painful sex. This is why someone may still be getting persistent pain, even if they're eating for blood sugar and lowering inflammation. Whilst these can certainly help overall, we still want to look at what's going on structurally because structural issues won't resolve from eating salad. Okay, so we have to look at kind of all angles. Now, equally, adhesions, which are web like or elastic band like collagen structures, are incredibly strong and they don't show up on scans. And their purpose is to heal and to almost knit an area back together. But unfortunately, they can keep growing and they stick on organs and pull on the body. And that can cause a huge amount of pain and dysfunction in the area, even if the endo has been fully excised. Adhesions grow in 80 to 100% of abdominal surgery patients. And so they're a big problem in our community because many don't know that they occur after surgery and just believe the endometriosis itself is a source of the pain and that the surgery didn't help. And they go in for another surgery, but it's actually the adhesions from the surgery that's causing the problem. At this stage, you can practice a lot of at-home methods to address the pelvic floor and the adhesions. But if you're ready, you can visit professionals who can work directly on these structural problems for you, like a visceral manipulation therapist who will work on the adhesions or a pelvic floor physiotherapist to work on your pelvic floor. It really just depends on your budget and what feels the least overwhelming for you because, we keep coming back to what is going to enable you to move forward rather than paralyzing you with overwhelm. And going back to what I said at the start, if food is triggering for you, you could start at this step and then move on to the next before visiting nutrition and blood sugar when you're ready. So you could start here and work on the structural side of things before, and the pain signals before you move on. Okay, so I've named this section healing fatigue, but there's a lot more to it than that. This is just sort of the main outcome. So I've used it as an umbrella term. So this is where we dig into the root causes of fatigue and brain fog. We look at sleep, which can have a dramatic effect on endo, from raising inflammation and pain signals to negatively affecting gut health. We look at our internal body clock, which is known as the circadian rhythm or the sleep-wake cycle. And we look at our cortisol levels and HPA axis. So the HPA axis stands for hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And HPA axis dysfunction is what used to be called adrenal fatigue, but it is now correctly named for everything it entails with all the correct science, because it was a bit too simplistic and wasn't quite correct before. It's something that I see a lot with my clients, and it's actually been shown in the research to affect people with endo and chronic pain. And it can have a huge knock-on effect on hormones, especially our thyroid, as well as our energy, our mood, and our cognitive function. Now, to put it simply, cortisol is not just our stress hormone. It's actually the hormone that wakes us up in the morning, and it allows us to function throughout the day. When the levels of this hormone are dysregulated, we can get issues like feeling wide awake at 3 a.m. or ready for bed at 4 p.m., or we're really unable to wake up in the morning, or we just feel tired all the time. So when cortisol gets out of whack through HPA axis dysfunction, we can end up feeling chronically fatigued or chronically stressed or anxious. And as I said earlier, studies show that many people with endo are likely to have low cortisol levels, which explains why we're so brain fogged and tired all the time. Because if your cortisol levels are low, you literally don't have the energy to get through your day. So getting those levels in check and balancing our sleep-wake cycle is another cornerstone to getting your foundations in place. And this is where tailoring your healing approach really comes in. If you're so flawed by chronic fatigue or so overwhelmed by anxiety that you can't even think about changing your nutrition or balancing your blood sugar, then I would start here and actually work backwards, or go to the next pillar that you feel most capable of tackling after this one. You can certainly swap these steps around, by the way. This is just my recommended path for effectiveness. But if your biggest challenge is exhaustion, then I would certainly start here. I see a lot of clients and students really try to drag themselves through changing their nutrition or changing their blood sugar, and they just don't have the energy to do it. So actually, I like to look at, okay, what's your cortisol levels doing? Let's work there. Let's get you some energy back before we try to like drag you, through the next steps. Okay, now, as you may have noticed going through all of these, although we're not directly working on gut health in each of these areas, gut health actually improves throughout and is supported by every aspect of these healing pillars. So in fact, what we're doing is we're working on the foundations of good gut health. Your gut is affected by your nutrition, your inflammation levels, your cortisol levels, your stress levels, your pelvic floor, your nervous system, your blood sugar levels, etc. It's literally affected by so much. So just by working on these foundations, you're laying out the path to less endobelly issues and a healthier gut. Now, that's not to say that you won't need to go on and do more advanced healing, which I cover in my more advanced workshops and courses. But in my experience with clients, it's more effective for gut healing to have these in place first, because going down the more complex route of healing SIBO or dysbiosis can really take some time, often a year, if not more, and it can be physically and emotionally taxing. And so if your endo symptoms are still raging, or you're really exhausted from HPA axis dysfunction, it's going to make treating these more complex issues much more difficult. And in fact, chronic stress and adhesions are two root causes of SIBO. So by getting on top of these first, you're improving your chances of success with this condition. And for those of you who weren't with us at the beginning, SIBO stands for small intestine bacterial overgrowth, and it's estimated that 80% of people with endo have it. And it's another area I specialize in because it's so prevalent in our community. But it's essentially one of the leading causes of a bloated belly and IBS issues. That's really the leading cause because it accounts for 70% of IBS cases. Okay, now I know a lot of you have questions about supplements, and within this foundational roadmap, I like to use supplements as a complementary support option to enhance the good work we're doing here, rather than seeing supplements as a pillar themselves. So despite conventional medicine telling us our only option for pain relief is pharmaceutical drugs, it is just not true. There are supplements that contain certain nutrients and herbs, etc., that have been proven to directly target endo and ease symptoms, literally proven in the research. And I've seen that these supplements work wonders for so many clients and even get them off pain medication. Now, I'm keeping this as a complementary add-on that's supportive rather than foundational, as we don't just want to mask your symptoms with supplements. We really want to address these root causes so you actually don't need a whole cabinet of supplements, right? That's expensive to keep up with. Now, ideally, I wouldn't bring in the supplement straight away because it can be helpful to see what the nutrition and blood sugar does alone. But if you're really struggling with symptoms, like you're struggling with a lot of pain, then bringing them in earlier could help you get to the point where you have enough relief that you have the energy and the motivation to actually move forward. So, those are the key foundational pillars, and they are creating the structure of your healing. They are like the foundations of a house and the scaffolding. And then when you're feeling improvement and you're feeling stronger and you're ready, you can then always add on you can add on the supporting your hormones through liver health. You can do more advanced gut healing. You can do cycle syncing. But these are your bread and butter. Now, I expect you to see real significant changes from these foundations. But if you don't, we would then look at what's holding you back. And that might be something like SIBO or a really dysregulated nervous system that actually needs more advanced support. Or it might be that you have allergies that haven't been identified, or it might be that you have a co-condition of endometriosis that hasn't been identified. But in short, we still need these foundations because that sets the stage for more advanced healing methods and actually for improving the outcome of the advanced healing methods. So these foundations are relevant for everyone. Now, with things like liver health, cycle syncing, and gut health, don't be scared of them. Many of them can be conquered and improved with just a few changes, but I don't include them in these foundation pillars because, as I said earlier, these can be the steps that people just feel a bit more overwhelmed by. And the steps in the foundational pillars will improve all of these by default anyway. And then if you want to give more attention to these areas, then you certainly can. Okay, so just going to wrap up this section with a lovely story from Mel. So Mel was a client who came to me with really bad IBS issues. She couldn't get through a meal without having to rush to the toilet. She had really serious period pain. She was on loads of medication to try and manage it, and she was completely exhausted. So she was using sugar to get her through the day, but she had become insulin resistant. So she was borderline diabetic when she came to me. She was literally fainting on the tube because she was having hypoglycemic moments. And what we identified was that she had SIBO, which she's working through. But what we focused on in the first month was supplementation because she was in so much pain. We started her on some ginger, some curcumin, and we balanced her blood sugar, and we made a couple of changes to her food to be more anti-inflammatory. And literally within, I think it was the first month, or maybe 6 weeks, she had a pain-free period and she came off her medication. And she has never gone back on her medication for her pain ever since. Her SIBO is complex, but her pain and she's no longer pre-diabetic. Her blood sugar is stabilized. She's not passing out anymore. She's not dizzy anymore. She has energy. She's not picking herself up with sugar throughout the day. She's doing really well. So I hope that was some inspiration for you. Okay, so this is the exciting part where your roadmap can really take shape. So you can continue with this after the session. By the way, if you'd like to elaborate on any of it, you're going to get the recording tomorrow, so you can just take some time to go back through it and finish it off. So when it comes to goals, we don't want to set too many because that just overwhelms us all over again. And that's not the point of today. We want our goals to be a stretch, but realistic and attainable. So let's start by asking, what are you ready to change first, and what instinctively feels like it needs to change in order for you to see improvements to your health? So maybe you know deep down that your nutrition could do with some improvements, or perhaps you need to get on top of your sleeping habits. Consider what feels like a good place to start and what has the least resistance for you. You're going for the low hanging fruit here. Maybe focusing on your pain just feels too much right now. You're just like, I just can't even think about tackling that. But you'd like to work on reducing your bloating or your PMS, for example. So take a few moments. You don't need to write in the chat box just yet, but just take a few moments to consider that. Okay. Now consider, out of the pillars that I just shared, which of those feel the most relevant to you and your core problems, and what are you actually willing to work on right now? It doesn't mean you won't work on any of the other pillars, but where are you actually willing to start? Maybe consider asking yourself, like, what could I do? What could I do out of these pillars that I could, easily start changing? So I'll give you a couple of moments to think about that or write it down in your journal. Okay, so now we're going to choose 1 to 3 goals for the next 3 months to end of the year. Now, I would actually recommend that you start with 3 months as it's much more manageable. So think about that long-term vision you had of yourself in the meditation. That's like your long-term vision, right? We're not trying to get to that in 3 months because that's probably going to be, you'll probably completely exhaust yourself trying to get to that in 3 months. Think about your why, your priorities, and what success would look like for you. And then make sure that these goals are smart, so specific, measurable. So how will you know it's gotten better? What will you use to measure it? If you're measuring your pain, can you measure it on a scale? So if it's a 10 right now, what will it be? What would you like it to be in 3 months' time? What what can you measure? Is it about what you're able to do? Some of you mentioned that you can't get out of bed when you're bleeding so heavily, or you can't see your friends. So can you measure it by what you're able to do? Actionable. So can you take action on this goal and make progress with it? Or is it more wishful thinking at this stage? It's not something that you can action right now. Realistic. Does it feel realistic and achievable to get to this goal within the time frame that you set? And time bound. And as I've indicated, 3 months is, probably ideal. If you set a goal for the next 3 months, you can review again in 3 months and either add to it or tweak your current goals or improve the goals, and then just keep setting or tweaking your goals every 3 months until you get to the end of the year. Because often if we set a 12-month goal, or I guess it would be 11-month goal or 10-month goal at this point, then you might kind of write those goals out and just not look at them again until the end of the year. But if you make a 3-month goal, you're more likely to take action on them. Okay, so these are some examples. So one client wanted to have identified the root cause of her bloating and to have begun or completed a healing protocol for it. Another wanted to have reduced their period pain to the point where they no longer needed painkillers or have any pain at all. And another wanted to have more consistent energy and less symptoms all month long. So remember that even though you might set this at the start of the 3 months, if you don't achieve it by the 3 months, you haven't failed. It's just that sometimes things take longer with healing. Just like, sure, I would have loved to have healed my IC in 3 months, but it's been a much longer process. I haven't given up. I'm not going to, stay the rest of my life with IC pain. Um, but I am accepting of it being a longer term goal. So journal your goal down. And if you're open to sharing, share in the chat. Now, don't worry if you don't have a goal right now. If you need to write it out later, you can do it afterwards. There's no pressure to think up a goal right now. But if you have a rough idea of one, then write it down. And if you're happy to share in the chat, it would be lovely to hear. Okay, Tej, cut down on sugar, learn about and adopt anti-inflammatory diet, and work on my sleep habits. A constant struggle as I am a classic night owl. Delayed phase circadian rhythm disorder. Wow. You know, what is his name? I can't remember his name. There's a sleep doctor. He's like the leading researcher, and he says that most of us, I don't know about the disorder you mentioned, but we are split into two circadian rhythms. So some of us are born to be, they go to bed not early, but I don't know, not late, and wake up fairly early. And others are designed, our circadian rhythm is designed to go to sleep later and wake up later. No, not Alyssa Vitti. He's a guy, and he's a leading sleep researcher. He's got a book called what, Matthew Walker. That's it. And he says, it's more about us trying to work our lives around. It's different if you've got HPA axis disorder, but if your circadian rhythm is set in that way, he recommends, like, society needs to change and our lifestyles need to adapt to our circadian rhythm, because evolutionary we're built that way. Because basically some of us as cavemen would sit up and keep watch over the others in the fire to make sure we're safe whilst the others slept, and then vice versa. So it meant that we evolved to have two different circadian rhythms. So very interesting. No, exactly, Tej. It's really frustrating, but the circadian rhythm piece should help you. But in an ideal world, we would be able to tailor our lives a bit more. But working on HPA axis will still be helpful for you. Claudia, improved situation with dizziness, now looking into the link with blood sugar, definitely. Continue to work towards a more nutrient dense diet, reintroducing foods after severe gut issues, and more consistent energy. Amazing. Kendra, learn about lowering pain signals and not be dependent on painkillers during the cycle. Oh, I love that, Kendra, and I think it's very, very possible. Okay, these are amazing. Sorry, I keep sipping on my water because my throat is so sore whilst I'm talking away. Okay, these are brilliant. Keep them coming. I'm going to move on, but feel free to keep sharing. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to create 1 to 3 baby steps to work on in the next 2 weeks, so that you're leaving this class with momentum. So to do this, consider what resources you actually have access to right now, and what is an easy way for you to get started and kick up the momentum. So I really want you to choose something that you feel is possible for you to do in the next 2 weeks. It might be a little stretch, but it really shouldn't be unattainable. So some examples are to eat 2 extra servings of vegetables, to stop scrolling by 9 p.m., to switch from sugar to natural sugar-free sweetener in your morning coffee, to start tracking your cycle with a period app. It can help to consider what resources you easily have to hand, or to play on what you're good at or enjoy. So, for example, if you like reading, you can replace your nightly scrolling with a book about endo. If you really like cooking, you might want to begin with a new dish that has more servings of vegetables than you would normally eat, rather than trying to overhaul your entire diet in 2 weeks. Now, make sure that you don't need to do loads of a prep to achieve this baby step. So you might declare that you're, gluten free from tomorrow onwards, but if you don't have any recipes and ingredients, that is a really big jump. So perhaps if gluten free was your goal, it could be to find recipes and products and ingredients in the next 2 weeks, and then the next 2 weeks after that, you maybe start experimenting with a couple of meals and recipes. So we're trying to set you up for success. Basically, we don't want to fall at the first hurdle, because we set us up with we've given ourselves a massive step. It's not a baby step, it's like a boulder. So have a little think and then make your declaration. Let us know in the chat what one baby step you're going to take in the next 2 weeks as a result of today's workshop. What are you excited to put into action over the next 2 weeks? That, of course, align with your goals. That's the point of the baby steps, to get you closer to your goal. Claudia, read up on blood sugar and have screen-free hour before bed. Amazing. Claudia, I've got loads of podcast episodes on blood sugar, if that's helpful. Cindy, work on consistent eating schedule and sleep cycle, i.e. Bedtime and wake up time. Amazing. I love that. Bissy, I joined the gym today. Amazing. Also lower bad foods. Bissy, remember, like, there are no bad foods. There are some foods that are more inflammatory than others, but we still want to be able to enjoy them every now and then. Speak hope over my body. My hopelessness has made management difficult. Oh, I really understand that. Airy, make an appointment for visceral manipulation. Yes, I love that. Please let me know how you get on. Anu, regular breathing exercises. I really need to do more of that. And I'm already almost gluten free and dairy free, but I want to be 100% free. Okay, so we've got so many like amazing baby steps. Remember, make sure they feel doable for you in the next 2 weeks, and they're not too huge steps. So we're coming to the end of this part of our workshop. So how are you guys feeling now? Do you feel clearer or more hopeful? How, are you excited about what's possible? How have you found this workshop? Has it been helpful? I'd love to hear, how you feel. Ted, you're exhausted but hopeful. Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope I haven't exhausted you too much with this. I hope it was, I hope it was helpful. I'm glad that you're hopeful. No parenthood. Okay. Kendra, so helpful. Now I just want to meet with you. Oh, so many questions. Hold tight till the end, Kendra, and you can ask me some questions. Cindy, I'm ready to hear about working with you to refine my current treatment plan. Oh, Cindy, that's lovely. I'm going to tell you guys how you can do that in a moment. Airy, inspired to learn more about this structural stuff. Seems like diet nutrition hasn't really done much. Yes, that is always where I go. When diet on blood sugar, if you're unresponsive, then I'm like, okay, we need to look at pain signals and we need to look at the structural issues. Okay, great, Anu. So many new ideas. I hope this is, giving you new ideas, giving you more inspiration, kind of maybe opened you up to new possibilities. Oh, you're so welcome, Bissy. You're very welcome. Thank you, Devon. So some of you have already mentioned this, but if you would like further support and guidance as you go through this path, and if you would like to learn, how to work through these pillars, just comment a yes in the chat box and I will tell you how. Great. Okay. Okay. You're so welcome, Natalia. Okay, perfect. So I would love to invite you guys to my brand new Live and Thrive with Endo, the Foundations course. So this is 4 foundational steps to managing endo holistically, reducing your symptoms naturally, and finally beating the endo overwhelm. So this 4-module course will provide you with the effective yet easy to digest tools and strategies to reduce your pain, your fatigue, your endo belly, your brain fog and hormonal symptoms, and allow you to live your life again. This introductory course includes the biggest yet foundational needle movers that I have seen work for my clients time and time again. So you'll get all the essential information that you need to get started without the overwhelm. So the doors to enrollment will close on February the 24th at 10 p.m. GMT, and the course begins on Monday the 28th, just before Endometriosis Awareness Month. So this course outlines my proven step-by-step roadmap for reducing pain, fatigue, brain fog, bloating with endo, along with the list of many other symptoms, both in the short term and the long term. So it's designed to give you short-term relief for in-the-moment issues and also a strategy for long-term alleviation. And I use this protocol with my clients who are feeling overwhelmed and confused, and I've witnessed incredible results from this. So in this course, you will identify the signs of inflammation in your body and your triggers so that you can recognize when you're inflamed and you can actually begin to lower it. You will create your own tailored endo diet to reduce pain, brain fog, fatigue, and bloating. And I'm going to give you all of the information, the studies, and the guidance to create your own personalized endo diet that suits your needs, your symptoms, and your lifestyle, because, of course, we're all different. You will heal your root causes of fatigue and brain fog so that you can experience clarity, better cognitive function, and sustained energy. You will design your own foundational gut healing protocol and identify any structural issues affecting your endobelly so that you can ease your IBS and endobelly symptoms. You will learn how to eat for your hormones and improve your cycle and your period health so that you can take back control rather than being at the mercy of your hormones, which I know some of you feel like you are. You will identify the right therapies and supplements for you personally so that you can create your own supplement regime and correct any structural problems. And you will calm down your nervous system and your pain signals so that you can lower the reactions in your body, improve your physical resilience, and escape the pain cycle. Now, the course also includes handouts, checklists, and guides to help you implement everything you're learning into your daily routine and lifestyle to make managing endometriosis feel possible, not overwhelming. So these are the modules, these are the key modules, but there are a couple bonus modules coming too. So module 1 is the role of inflammation and anti-inflammatory nutrition. So we all know it's a really confusing world out there when it comes to knowing what to eat for endometriosis, or really knowing what to eat full stop. And this is where we set out the foundations of good nutrition and anti-inflammatory eating. We'll also go through the science of endometriosis, inflammation, and your symptoms so that you can actually understand why you're making changes. Module 2 is blood sugar, pain, fatigue, and hormones. So we're going to explore the huge impact blood sugar has on us endo warriors, and I'll teach you the 4 key strategies for stabilizing blood sugar and making blood sugar balancing meals. I'll also teach you more advanced strategies for when you're ready that you can kind of save for later on down the line if you want to. Module 3 is structural support and pain signals. So we'll calm down the nervous system and identify what path of structural healing is necessary for you, and you'll get some home exercises. Module 4 is circadian rhythm, sleep, and HPA axis recovery. Now, this module is really going to help you to get on top of your fatigue and brain fog issues, as well as things like anxiety and hormonal imbalance. These modules will be delivered every other week. So you'll get module 1 on week 1, and then the following week we'll actually have a live Q&A with me, and the week after you'll get module 2, and so on. Now, this is just a quick course overview. You'll get 4 easy to watch modules with bonus modules, and the modules will be broken down into lessons. No, Tej, it's all over the world. All over the world. It's all going to be recorded, so it doesn't matter where you're coming in from the world, you can rewatch it. You will get PDFs, handouts, recipes, checklists, symptom trackers, and more with every module. And I'm actually going to be giving you I don't know what to call it as of yet, basically a handout that tells you what are the most foundational but biggest needle movers that you can take from this module, so that if you want some real step-by-step guidance, I'm literally giving you the steps, the instructions for you to take forward. You get lifelong access to the course, so you can take it entirely at your own pace. The course is being released in a staggered fashion, right? So I'm releasing one module, then I'm releasing another in 2 weeks, and so on. And that's just so that you don't rush through it and you don't feel overwhelmed with info on day 1. But you can take as long as you need to work through the modules. You can take a year, you can take 2. It's totally up to you. You've got access to this for the lifetime of the course, for however long I decide to run this course, which, I mean, hopefully will be till I'm old and grey. You have access to this. So these are the bonuses you get. You get 8 weeks of live Q&A sessions and community support. So you'll get 4-hour-long live group Q&A calls with me on Zoom. So they'll be held the week after a module release, and they'll be recorded so you can catch up if they're not in your time zone. And if they're not in your time zone, you can submit questions ahead of the call. I'll answer them on the call. It will be recorded and you can watch it back. And this is a great place to ask questions related to the modules, or if you have any questions about implementing certain strategies into your daily habits, or if you have any personal endo questions you'd like to ask me, or if you're just feeling stuck or unmotivated. These live Q&As are independent of the modules. You don't need to have watched or even have started a module to join. A Facebook, Devon, you signed up already. Do you have another group starting on the 21st, or am I getting my dates mixed up? Is that a different course? I don't have a course launching on the 21st, but I do have nutrition for endo masterclasses that are up all the time. But you might have signed up already. The link isn't live, but it's hidden, so you might have found the link. We'll talk in a minute, Devon. You get a Facebook community to ask questions and support each other, celebrate wins, and ask for help if things feel tough. You get the option to link up and create buddy groups to keep up motivation and momentum. And after the full 8 weeks, you still have access to the Facebook group, so you can continue on your journey with the group that you meet. The next bonus is an extra module on supplements. So obviously, living with a chronic condition can sometimes require a little extra help in the form of supplementation. So this helps you to know where to start. In this bonus module, I take you through some of my favorite evidence-backed supplements that have been shown to target endometriosis, reduce inflammation, and support healthy hormones. You'll learn which supplements are right for you, the safe but effective dosage limits, how and when to take these, and some of the best brands so that you can create your own personalized regime. You'll also get a PDF guide so you can print this out and put it on your fridge. There are 2 bonuses everyone gets. Actually, no, there are 3. Sorry, ignore that. Now on to the third bonus, an extra module on the endo belly. So out of those who voted, 100% of my audience with endo said that they have IBS issues. And I mean, that's just not surprising to me. Endo can come with chronic stress, which can cause leaky gut and changes to stomach acid and the microbiome, lesions on the bowel, adhesions on the intestines, gut dysbiosis, and SIBO. But diving in headfirst with SIBO treatment or gut dysbiosis treatment is often extremely overwhelming, as it's a lengthy process which requires you to feel well enough to take it on. As a result, most of my clients who go through SIBO healing with me need to do some work on their endo symptoms first, and they also need to do some foundational gut healing before they can take on the big guns like SIBO. So, this bonus masterclass outlines the essential and first line therapies. That's kind of what we call that in gut healing. We have first line and second line therapies. So, first line therapists like the primary, and second line therapists are the advanced. So, we go through the first line therapies that all of us can adopt for better gut health and ultimately a reduction in the endobelly, less gut symptoms, and improved nutrient absorption. This is step one for everybody with gut health issues, not just endo. I mean, I've tailored it towards endo, but everyone needs to go through first line therapies when they're healing their gut. The great news is that you might experience a complete or significant reduction in your endobelly and gut symptoms with just this module. You'll learn everyday tools you can get started with straight away, which will improve your gut brain connection. And you'll learn about how stress, trauma, and living with endo can impact the endobelly. And you'll also learn simple brain retraining strategies we can use to overcome them. You'll learn how to eat to optimize digestive function, reduce IBS issues, and improve nutrient absorption. You'll also be equipped with the best gut healing foods and when, if to use them. Plus, you'll leave the masterclass with symptom management tools and supplements to use whilst you're healing, and also if you have a flare, so supplements to help you calm down an IBS flare. And you'll also get a list of the best probiotic strains for people with endo and when to use them, because actually not all probiotics are great for us. So these are the three bonuses that everyone gets, but there are more too, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. So next, I just wanted to let you know that signing up is risk-free. So Live and Thrive with Endo, the Foundations course, is one of the most comprehensive and clear courses on managing endo holistically and lowering that overwhelm. It provides you with a step-by-step guide that will get you results if you're ready and you're committed to making these changes. But if you get 14 days in and you decide that, for whatever reason, this course isn't right for you, you'll get a full refund. By this point, you would have been able to hop on a few Q&As with me, you would have gotten to know the community, you would have done the module. But if after you decide it's just not right for you, just drop me an email. All I ask for is feedback on the modules that you have done so that I can improve them for the next time, and your reason for not wanting to continue the course in case I can make improvements in the future. So with that being said, I'm sure you're wondering what it costs. So the full 8 weeks, the live Q&A coaching calls and the bonuses are priced at $160, but until Friday, 10 p.m. GMT, that's UK time, you can get the course for the early bird price of $120. Now, if you know me and you follow my work, I've spent years working at charities with vulnerable people. I dropped my salary to £10,000 a year to start this endo life. And I've lived with the financial impact of endo. I mean, really lived with it. And I know what it's like for help to be out of reach price-wise. And that's one of the main reasons why I designed this foundational course and why I'm putting it out into the world for this price. I really want this to be as accessible as possible. And because of that, I've also made a payment plan. So you can do the upfront payment of 120, or you can do a payment plan, which is 3 months, 3 payments, each 30 days apart, of £42 with a 5% admin fee, just because I get charged for every transaction. Oh, you're welcome, Cindy. I'm glad. It's really important to me. So I'm glad that it's a good price for you. Now, of course, when it's not in the early bird pricing, the full payment plan will be £56. So just have that in your mind. Now, if you're ready to sign up, you can go to www.thisendolife.com, Live and Thrive with Endo, the Foundations course. And as I mentioned a minute ago, you can join wherever you are in the world. Some people get a bit concerned about what do they do if they're in America? How do they buy it if it's in pounds? You just buy it and then it will convert for you. You don't need to do anything. It just converts as you pay. The banks do it. I don't know how it works. Oh, technically. I'm just going to paste this in, but Teachable, who is my course host, that's who hosts my course, they convert it all for you. So you'll see it in British pounds, but when you actually see it in your bank, you'll see when it comes out, you'll see the price. So if you decide to sign up for the early bird pricing, you also get this extra bonus. This is what I mentioned at the beginning. So this is my Eating for Endo weekly meal plan template. So this is going to help you to take that info about nutrition and actually implement it into your daily life. So it's an example meal plan, and it's going to show you what a week's worth of Eating for Endo might look like, so you can be inspired and make your own. You'll get an example weekly meal plan template. Basically, you're going to get what I eat in a week. And you'll get a fully customizable meal template, and you'll get recipe links and recipe inspiration as well. So the bonus is, just to recap, 8 weeks of live Q&A sessions and community support, supplements for Endo module, managing the Endo belly module, and Eating for Endo weekly meal plan template. So those are the 4 bonuses that you get if you sign up before Friday, 10 p.m. GMT. Wow, sorry, I'm really losing my voice. Okay, so just to recap, in case anyone ran to the toilet or, got distracted by flatmates or children, if you need to see these prices again, or the enrollment page, here it is. Free payments of £42. That includes a 5% admin fee, or one payment of 120. And I have pasted the link to the page to read. You can find out more on the website. You literally can read everything about the modules. There's testimonials on there. There's all of the information that you need to know on there. So that's the link here, www.thisendolife.com, Live and Thrive with Endo, the Foundations course. And just so you know what it will look like, you'll go to my website and you can read about the modules and see some testimonials and videos, as I mentioned. And then when you choose like the payment option, then it will take you to this page. And this is what it will look like. You need to fill out your details. You'll get a confirmation page from Teachable. Then if you're new to Teachable, or you're new to my school, that's what it's called, my school, then you'll get a confirmation email that you need to definitely check your spam. You need to click this confirmation email for you to be registered. This email does expire after 7 days. It's just how Teachable works. So you do need to confirm it as soon as you get it. It doesn't mean you can't access the course. You will, but you'll need to let me know that it's expired and I'll have to register you again. Then they will email you to say thank you for enrolling and that is confirmed. And then you'll get an email from me. Now, if you're not subscribed to me, then you'll get an email first asking you to subscribe before you get this email. And that's just because of the GDPR rules. I can't legally email you without you being subscribed. So just check your spam and see if you need to confirm your subscription first, and then you'll get this email. And in this email, I'm literally taking you through, it's a welcome email. I'm taking you through all of the next steps on getting kind of accustomed to the course and getting started. Then you can log into your course. The details will be in the Teachable email. So this is the login page. And when you log on, it will look like this. So this is mine. And so I've held other courses. So this is my original Live and Thrive with Endo course. So this is just what mine looks like, but yours will look like Live and Thrive with Endo, the Foundations. And then this is what it looks in the course curriculum. So you'll see in the beginning, you'll just see the welcome video. I cannot emphasize enough how important this welcome video is to watch, because it's going to give you some instructions on how to go through the course and what to do if you're suffering with a lot of pain or a lot of fatigue, the order in which to go through the course. The module 1 will be released on the 28th, and then module 2 will be released 2 weeks after that, and so on. So you won't actually see these when you log on at first, you'll just see this. So here is the link one more time. Again, it's in our chat box if you need it. So I really want this to feel like the right choice for you, if it is the right choice for you. So if you're not sure, scan over your journal, like what we've just gone through, and ask yourself, like, why do I want to make change with Endo? Look at your why. What will it mean for your life? And ask yourself, does this course feel like the right path for you to reach your why? You can also revisit your core challenges and main goals. Have a think about whether you feel you would benefit from the knowledge and the tools and the resources in this course. And if you feel called to join me, if you think, yeah, you know what, this is the right next step for me, I would absolutely love to support you with this course. And I want this to be the right choice for you. I want this to feel right for you. So if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask. Now, I do get a lot of questions whenever I do a course. So these are some of the common ones I come up with. So can you do the course if you're on birth control? Yes, absolutely. And actually, some of these modules are going to be even more helpful to you because birth control can affect gut health, it can affect blood sugar, it can affect nutrient absorption. Now, everything we cover in this course is going to be beneficial and complementary to managing endo, regardless of whether you're on birth control or not. But it doesn't stop you either way. It's going to be really helpful. Now, many of my clients and previous course students have actually come off birth control because they felt so much better from following the protocols in the course. So if your goal is to come off birth control, you may find that this course helps you to do so, which is a nice bonus. Do you have to complete all of the action steps within the 8 weeks? Definitely not. Endo is different for everybody, so it really depends on what you're tackling. If you have a lot of symptoms and overlapping conditions, it may take you more time to go through the strategies, perhaps 6 months to a year, depending on what you have going on. If you have a few symptoms and you do have good levels of energy, you might get through the key steps you choose to take in the 8 weeks. But then you might also have a couple of others that you'll be implementing across the next few months after the course as well. Give yourself at the very least a good 3 months of implementation time, but it will most likely take longer. When I work with my clients, like I said, it's at least 3 months. So give yourself at least that. Can you do this if you've just come out of surgery? Definitely. You might need to take it slower to give yourself time to rest, but everything we cover will actually aid your healing and optimize the benefits of a good surgery. If you're feeling really worn out after the surgery, this is where I would suggest starting with module 4, like pillar 4, working backwards from the fatigue piece and HPA axis dysfunction. And I actually did a video testimonial with a couple of clients who did my other Live and Thrive with Endo course, the full course. And they found it so helpful for them post surgery. And this is what Amina, one of my students, said. So I found your course after my second surgery, and I was at a place where I knew I still was in the healing process, but I was frustrated with where I was with the healing. And it just so happened that I had a week or two of unpleasant symptoms that kind of pushed me to the edge, and I needed to find help. I was in a flare at the moment, and I signed up just hoping it would be something to help me. I wanted to know how to help myself, and that kind of growth that I've had in the past 7 months is because of your course. Yes, the surgery helped, but I don't think I'd be where I am today in terms of my health, my vitality, and how I feel about endo if it wasn't for the course, because I would have just been left with what the doctors would have done, which was, we'll call you in a couple of months, but it's not the support we need and it's not the support we deserve. And you just provide that. I honestly feel like I've got this. For the first time since I've had my pain, and it kicked in when I was 12, for the first time, I feel like I've got a handle on my endo. So you can hear Amina's experience post surgery. She really feels like it was like what she needed after surgery to continue her healing. So this is that link again, www.thisendolife.com, Live and Thrive with Endo, the Foundations course. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to Q&A. I'm going to give 20 minutes. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. Oh, it's working now. Um, because I can go very, very deep in answering questions, and we can be here for another 2 hours, and it's 9 o'clock already. So I'm going to put 20 minutes on the clock. Otherwise, I'll keep you guys all night. I just wanted to share some testimonials before I answer the questions. So this is from Chloe. I just wanted to say a big thank you for creating this course. I've honestly been blown away by the effort and detail you've poured into it. It's an endo Bible of hope and without a doubt the most value for money investment I've ever made. Diana said, I want to also express to Jess my deepest gratitude for this course. I am so very glad I took it, and I know its content will serve me for a long time to come. Thank you for your great generosity in preparing it and for caring so much about us. Your deep care shows all over it. Rachel, this course has changed my life. Amina, for the first time since my pain started when I was 12, I feel like I've got this. And Sam, although her name isn't here, I have just finished and I just want to say a huge thank you. Your knowledge, work, care, and organization is phenomenal. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So hopefully those testimonials are reassuring to you. Okay, let's look at these questions. Oh, why is that not? Sorry, guys, I got a tech issue. Okay, that's strange. So I'm just reading the questions. Okay, Tej, do you have any recommended anti-inflammatory? Do you have a recommended anti-inflammatory diet? So there are numerous anti-inflammatory diets that have been shown to reduce inflammation and reduce pain. The leading one being the Mediterranean diet, but when it comes to anti-inflammatory eating, it's about tailoring it to what your body finds anti-inflammatory versus what it finds inflammatory. So for me, tomatoes are one of the most anti-inflammatory foods in the world, but they're really inflammatory for me because I have histamine intolerance. So it's about taking the research that we have, and then the Mediterranean, the paleo, the vegetarian, the vegan, all of those have been shown to be very effective for pain management. And I go in the course, I take you through all of the science, and then I take you through like how to piece it together. But essentially what we're looking for is the star of the show are vegetables, fruit, clean organic proteins, so they're not full of pesticides and hormones. Whole grains if you can tolerate them. Some people can't tolerate them. Healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, nuts and seeds. And within the protein piece, it's like fatty fish, legumes. If you eat meat and animal products, it's organic, free range eggs, omega 3 rich lean meat. So it's more nuanced than that, but that's a basic overview. I'm just thinking of the name. I have a podcast I think it's called Anti-Inflammatory Nutrition 101, that you can listen to. But the first module is very comprehensive on this. To get tested for SIBO, it's a breath test, and you basically breathe into you breathe into a bag with a test tube attached. And then once you've breathed into it the first time, you drink a solution, and this solution's got like a sugary substance in it. And then every 20 minutes for 3 hours after you drunk that solution, you take another breath test. You send that off, and the test is measuring the amount of gas that the SIBO makes. So if you don't make an abnormal amount of gas, there is no SIBO. If you do make an abnormal amount of gas, there's SIBO present, and it will test you for hydrogen or methane type SIBO. In America, you can also get tested for hydrogen sulfide, but unfortunately, we don't have that option in the UK. So find out what more you got health in the US. So when you say find out more about gut health in the US, I'm not sure. I mean, that's such a broad there's so much about gut health. I have an endo belly course, but it's not out soon. It's out like mid this year, and that takes you through gut health, healing, and SIBO. But obviously, this course has the getting started with the gut health. Um, Dr. Alison Seebecker is who trained me. She's based in America, and she is a SIBO expert. So you can look at some of her work as well. What are my recommendations for getting your hormones levels tested? So a cheap option is to do a blood test. You would on day 3, you would test your estrogen. You can also test your testosterone on day 3 as well, and your other hormones like sex binding globulin, and follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. And then on day 21, you would test your progesterone. However, these are just like spot tests, right? They're only giving you a small insight as to what your hormones are doing. They can be helpful if that's all you can afford, but the best test, the most advanced test, is called the Dutch test. And you can do it, will show you how your body and your liver is breaking down your hormones and whether your hormones are building up in your body. And so there are a couple different Dutch tests. You can just do one that you just do it on a day, and it is more comprehensive than the blood test, but it's still just a day. The other option is a cycle mapping test. So the cycle mapping test by Dutch, literally you test your hormones every single day, and the Dutch test is a urine test. So it's a dried urine test. You pee on some paper, and that's what the test measures. It measures your metabolites, so your hormone metabolites in your urine. Wow, my throat is like razors. Okay. How do you test your cortisol levels? It's called a cortisol awakening test. Cortisol awakening response. It's CAR, so CAR. You'll see a CAR test on lab tests. Dutch do one, and that's probably the best one you can get because it looks at your total cortisol and your free cortisol. So what it's looking for is you can get a blood test and it's going to tell you your total cortisol levels, but it's not going to show you how much of that cortisol is actually able to be used by your body. And the Dutch test will show you how much is being used in the free cortisol test. So it is a saliva test, and you basically spit into a tube a couple of times across the day and evening, and that will measure your cortisol levels. And it's about £200. You can get a cheaper one with your blood test, but it's really like it's not very accurate to do a cortisol test via your blood. Anu, is it possible to get rid of chocolate cysts without hormones? So yes, there is a supplement called NAC, which was proven in the research to shrink endometriomas to the point where they either dramatically reduced in size or they completely disappeared, and people cancelled their surgeries, or some of them got pregnant. And I talk about it in the supplements module. There are a couple of other supplements that also target chocolate cysts as well. But also overall, we want to kind of counteract and lower any of those contributing factors that would be encouraging the endometriosis growth, right? Like inflammation. Kendra, do you feel like excision surgery is normally necessary for endo? I'm so worried about getting adhesions from surgery that will make my SIBO worse. I've not pursued any surgery yet. Kendra, it really depends on what type of endo you have and what your outcome, your priorities are. So fertility can improve in the 6 months post or year, 6 months or year, I think, post surgery. So if someone's priority was fertility, they might choose to do surgery because of that. Obviously, if the endometriosis was, it showed up in an MRI scan that it was really damaging the bowel, or it was damaging the bladder, it was infiltrating another organ, then a surgery would likely be necessary to try and remove that. If it is superficial endometriosis, meaning that it is not yet deep infiltrating, what they're finding is that surgery often makes it worse because it actually, they're cutting into the nerves. Usually, these superficial endometriosis adhesions, not adhesions, lesions that are on the surface, they have a high supply of nerves, and as every time they cut into those and remove it, it starts to damage the nerve and cause more pain. So there's a great article by The Guardian. Just Google like The Guardian endometriosis surgery, and it will come up. And it talks to specialists about the pros and cons of surgery. Um, Obviously, you can't get a full diagnosis without surgery. So sometimes the diagnosis, and to see how extensive it is, because you can't really fully see how extensive something is with an MRI, and you certainly can't see any superficial endo with an MRI. But sometimes the first surgery is necessary, and then from then on, you don't have another. But if you can get to the point where you're managing your endo, and the doctor doesn't see any damage and any real risk of you not having a surgery, and your key priority is like, I don't want to have adhesions from the surgery, then it might be better for you to not have it. Oh, Devon. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Um, that is a top. Oh, did I say 21st? Sorry, that was a typo. It's 28th. Um, yes, so it's the same. It's the same. I changed the name because pretty much all of you fed back that you preferred the foundations. Um, so this is the same. It's the same thing. And it will be out on the 28th, not the 21st. Sorry, I better send an email and let you guys know that that was a typo. Um, Cindy, you're far along your treatment. You've tried so many things and you're feeling better. That's amazing. But I have an endometrioma, and being told surgery is the only way to get rid of it. Do you offer one-on-one? I'm not sure if the foundational course is the right first step for me. Would like more customized guidance as I prep for surgery. Yeah, Cindy, I do offer one-on-one. I don't have a huge amount of space at the moment, and I have two consultation calls next week for the spaces that I have left, but that's not to say they'll be taken. So on my website, if you go to the coaching page, you can apply for the coaching, and I will, and the form will ask, there's like a form, it will ask you a couple questions, and then I will get back in touch to book in a date for consultation, and we can chat about whether the one-on-one or the course is better for you. And hopefully I'll have space. Um, uh, Tej, you said you live in the US. I'm not sure what that's regarding, but the course, everything that I do, it can be accessed all over the world. So I can work with people all over the world. The courses for people all over the world. Um, all of the tests that I use can be ordered all over the world. Um, Devon, I'm about to embark on the elemental diet for the first time. I was recently diagnosed with both methane and hydrogen dominant SIBO, and I will be on antifungals as well. I've listened to all of your podcasts, but was wondering if you had any extra advice and tips for reintroducing foods afterwards. So, what antifungals are you taking during the SIBO treatment? Because some of them you shouldn't be taking with the elemental diet. Yes, Anu, NAC, N-acetylcysteine is the full name. Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. It's just like some antifungals are herbal, and the cellulose capsule that they come in feeds SIBO. So we just want to avoid that. Um, right, going back to your question. Any extra advice? I mean, the key advice that I would have on the elemental diet is what I put in that podcast episode on the elemental diet. I don't know if you listened to it, but really balance your blood sugar. So sip slowly over an hour or two. Maybe get like a flask that keeps it cool, because the labels always say to put it back in the fridge after an hour. And I think that's because it's quite a sugary drink solution. I think what they're trying to do is avoid bacteria starting to feed on the sugar when it warms up. So keep it in a cold flask if you need to drink it over more than an hour. So to keep my blood sugar as stable as it can be when you're drinking a sugary drink as your main source of fuel, I drank it over 2 hours, because if I drank it within an hour, it really messed me up. But that is because my methane SIBO really affected my blood sugar levels. It can do that, and I'm just very sensitive to it. So I have to work really hard to balance my blood sugar. So space it out. Um, really give yourself time to rest. Don't book in anything that's going to require lots of travel or lots of walking around. I found, sorry, I just dropped my ring. I found that if I ventured out too far and I ran out of the drink, I was like panicking because my blood sugar would drop like quite quickly. Um, and I would start to feel like dizzy or faint. So take if you're going out and you're going to be out for a while, take extra drinks with you. But I wouldn't advise that you really have many social activities at all. If you're gonna see people, I would have them coming round to you. I would keep your movement to gentle walks, um, and not necessarily like a long walk in one go, but more like short walks, like 15-minute walks a couple times a day, rather than like a really long walk all in one go. Um, Coming off the elemental diet, um, you can you have to move into some type of SIBO diet, which I assume you know from listening to the podcast. But going straight into a normal diet, if the SIBO clears from the elemental diet, going straight into a normal diet is very likely to cause a relapse. So we do a 3-month prevention phase of a form of SIBO diet, 3 to 6 months. And you can expand as you go through. So it's not that it's super restricted the entire time. It's just that you start restricted and then you start to expand to tolerance. So you can move in immediately the next day into some kind of SIBO diet. However, some people suggest that you actually stagger it. So the first day, maybe you start with just drinking like a broth with like no, you've made it with vegetables and stuff, but you've actually not got any of the food in it. Maybe you've got a couple of low FODMAP veggies, but not many. And then the next day you might move on to some kind of like soup and pureed food and broth. And then the day after, you start bringing in more low FODMAP meals, more low FODMAP servings of things. So some people find that staggering it is better. I will say that after doing it twice, staggering it for me was better. I think I probably messed myself up. I went low FODMAP the second time I did it. The next day I went into low FODMAP, but I didn't put any restrictions. I didn't just have like broth or soup. I just like ate low FODMAP, and I just blew up straight away. So some people symptom wise respond better to stagger it. Natalia, what is my opinion about bioidentical progesterone? So, Natalia, I am not really legally allowed to talk about hormonal medications, because I'm not licensed as a health coach. So, I don't make it my area of expertise because I'm not legally allowed to talk about it. Uh, so, um, I know some people use it. I know some nutritionists swear by it. I think it's just that you need to use it carefully and properly. And also, I would love for people not to become reliant on it, because um, if your progesterone is low, I want to know why your progesterone is low and to actually treat the root causes. But if you want to learn about how to use it for endo, then I recommend looking at Dr. Lara Bryden, because she's got it in her book. For nutritional advice for improving progesterone levels, vitamin C, trying to remember this off the top of my head, magnesium, zinc. What's the other one? I can't remember the other one. But basically, foods rich in vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, eating for blood sugar balance, and working on your stress regulation. Stress and blood sugar are some of the key culprits behind preventing ovulation, which stops progesterone production. You have to ovulate in order to make progesterone. So, and if you don't have like healthy follicles because your ovaries aren't being like nourished with the right nutrients, then you can also have like basically low quality um ovulation. So like you just don't have the ability to make healthy enough progesterone levels. So really in that follicular phase, in the 2 weeks before you ovulate, really eating, a nutrient dense diet, eating lots of healthy fats, that's going to really nourish your follicles. And then when you move into that luteal phase, when progesterone is being made, really focusing on vitamin C, zinc, magnesium. Vitamin C is like vitamin C directly increases progesterone levels. Kendra, yeah, definitely look into Alice Seebecker. She is a queen. I love her. Oh, amazing, Devon. I will say happy birthday. Tej, do you have any tips for requesting these tests from doctors, or even which doctors to approach? It depends what you're looking for from a doctor, as in, I don't know any names unless I know like the specific type of doctor that you're looking for. Requesting these tests from doctors, what I usually tell my clients is just say that your health coach asked for them. You've been requested to get these tests by your health coach or nutritionist, and that they need them for the support that they're giving you with endo. And also, if you go through the course with me, I'm going to be giving you the scientific evidence behind these issues, so you can be like, I'm educated in this, I'm aware of this. This is why I want this. This is the evidence behind it. So you can kind of give them that information. Cindy, you read at one point that NAC can aggravate gut issues. This is why you haven't tried it. What are your thoughts? As far as I'm aware, it only affects people if they have hydrogen sulfide type SIBO, because NAC contains sulfur. So it can feed sulfur SIBO, or aggravate sulfur SIBO. But I haven't heard of it just irritating people full stop. Having said that, everyone is unique. So you should always be guided by your body with every single supplement, because who knows, we will all react differently. So NAC, mainly my concern is if you have hydrogen sulfide SIBO. Other than that, I'm willing to give it a go, and I've not had any clients had any bad results from it, unless they have hydrogen sulfide. So I hope that was helpful, everyone. I'm going to wrap up before I completely lose my voice and I can't speak to any clients tomorrow. I really hope this session has been interesting and insightful, and it's got you, yeah, hopeful and excited for what could be possible. You are so welcome, Tiffany. Oh, thank you. That makes me so happy. Um, oh, thank you so much. So perhaps I will see some of you on the 28th of Feb. I was about to say March then, definitely not the 28th of March, February. Oh, you're so welcome, Kendra. Feel free to ask me any other questions if you have any other questions. You're welcome, Anne and Tej and Kendra and Cindy. Great. Thank you, Cindy. I will reply to you on Friday. Devon, amazing. Oh, look, I'll see you. Yeah. I'll see you on the 28th, Devon. Anu, thank you so much. I really feel that my panic and anxiety are lower now. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's just me one night. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so, so pleased. It was lovely meeting you all. Thank you for trusting me and for sharing so openly and sharing such, all of your personal challenges. I hope that this is going to serve you for a long time to come, and perhaps I'll see you, some of you, in a couple of weeks. Okay, take care, everyone. I will email you tomorrow with the recording. Bye.